think we have quite a few Hostfully customers joining us based on the poll, but just kicking out, I already introduced Dan a little bit. I also want to introduce my right-hand man here, Inya. Inya is one of our best business development reps. So any questions you got, pop them in the questions tab. He'll be looking at that. And just a quick word about Hostfully. Like I said, you guys already know who Hostfully is, but if you don't, we're obviously a big property management software, one of the best in the industry, preferred partner status with Airbnb, premier with Booking.com, and elite status with Vrbo. And of course, we won a few awards over the years as well. Something you might not know, we have some pretty cool core values at our company. Diversity, equity, inclusion, big deal to us. Inya's actually joining us from Argentina here. We have colleagues across the world, 20 different countries. And we're also big into the environment too. We got some great partnerships on that end. Feel free to look into those a little more. And of course, I posted our core values and what guides us on the right. We'll talk about our PMS, but if you guys aren't already using our digital guidebooks, awesome platform to tie in with your property management platform and really create an awesome customized experience for the guests, maybe get a little more upsells, and of course, hopefully cut down some communication because they'll have everything they need right in that guidebook. But yeah, a couple things about the PMS for those that aren't a part of Hostfully. Big central hub to manage your whole operations tip to tail. Of course, that includes your pricing, your channel management, having a nice view of your calendar. We also have a kind of a unique view that's we call our pipeline view, a little bit easier way to see the calendar and all your leads. But again, most of you kind of are familiar with these features. And then with the guidebooks, I mentioned a little bit, we are actually doing a live guidebook demo. We do those every week. So if you guys want to watch a recording of that, I'm just going to pop up a link there if you haven't already signed up. And then the big news today, enough about Hostfully, but we do want to announce our huge new included exclusive promotion with Key Data, and that's the Snapshot Tool. What does that mean for you guys? We can compare our property performance, we can create custom reports, and overall optimize that revenue. So I'm excited to turn this over to Dan. He's going to show us a little bit of the Snapshot Tool, some of the other features that Key Data offers as well. But with that, Dan, I'm going to let you take the reins, all right?
For sure. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it, Mitch. We're really excited to roll out this partnership. We've already got people signed up. And now the question is, what can you do with the dashboard? So today I'm going to walk you through the Snap dashboard. And so the Snap dashboard, for anybody who's using Key Data, notice about half of the people who are on this call are already using Key Data. You're going to continue to use Key Data the way that you always have. The Snap Data dashboard is just the company snapshot. So it's a boiled down version of everything that we offer, but it's the company snapshot for anybody who's already using Key Data. Now, the reason why we did this is because the company snapshot was the #1 report in Key Data dashboard. It's where most people spend most of their time. Now, Key Data is very well known for our direct source data across the market. That's what we specialize in. That's where we came from. That's why we built Key Data. But what we figured out along the way is that people didn't have a great way to look at what's happening internally within their own data. So what we did with the Snapshot report is this is just your own data. It gives you the ability to measure yourself year over year, month over month, season over season for just the types of properties that you want to see. And what you can do within the dashboard is save reports. You can change the metrics that you measure and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I'm going to walk you through all of that today. In our initial conversations with the Snap signups from Hostfully, one thing that people said is, okay, so I got into the dashboard, but I don't know what I can do with it. So one of the cool things that I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to maximize what you can do with the Snap report, and then talk to you a little bit about some of the additional things that you could do if you got the entire Key Data solution, but we'll get there. For free. I'm going to walk you through it and show you how to maximize all of this. So get in here and make sure you sign up for the dashboard. One last thing that I'll add on before I go into the actual Snap presentation is to make sure that we're going to have to send you a data sharing agreement because you are supplying your data to us. It's going onto our servers. We have to be protected and protect you. So in order to do that, we do have to sign a data sharing agreement. So make sure that you look for that or email me if you need that so that we can get you guys into your dashboard and making great decisions using the data that's in front of you. So without further ado, let me open up a snapshot report and show you what's going on within the dashboard. As Mitch mentioned, please drop any questions that you have. If you don't understand something that I say, drop it into the questions and I'll make sure I address it. I helped start the company in 2018, so I know a little bit about this. This is where I spend most of my time on my demos anyway. So you guys are getting a massive value and a massive chunk of what key data can do right here in the Snap dashboard through Hostfully. So really excited for this partnership. Now, the first thing that you're going to see when you get into your Snap dashboard is the 4 metrics going across the top of the screen and the 4 charts going down the screen. And if you don't know anything about this, it probably doesn't scream out to you, man, this is really useful. So let's look at what's going into this dashboard so that you can understand what you can manipulate so that you can get to a decision-making point. So the first thing we got to look at on this report is our filter. The filter is the brains behind the operation at Key Data. This is where you really get everything going. So the first thing that we're going to look at is the date range. You can choose any date range that you want within your dashboard. By default, it's going to look at this year versus last year as of the same day last year. If you don't want to compare to last year, or you want to compare to this year, for example, you do have the ability to change whatever date range you want in this filter. So completely customizable. You can choose custom date and choose it off the calendar. You can even with the Snap dashboard, you can create custom seasons. I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. But you can go through and you can just look at this year versus last year is what I'm going to do for the purposes of this presentation until we get to some of the more advanced settings. Then you can choose any market that you operate within. A lot of Hostfully users operate in multiple markets. Well, you don't want to always compare, or maybe you want to just run a report for how you're doing in Sevierville, Tennessee, and then a different report for how you're doing in Austin, Texas, and a different report for how you're doing in Myrtle Beach. Key Data allows you that ability to filter down. And so that all of you know, we don't work off of zip code, we work off of GIS, meaning that we literally draw a shape file around every market in the country, and we've got millions of them at this point. And then you can see what's going on in that market. So for the data that I'm showing you today, this is a live property manager. So they operate in a bunch of different markets. But what we're doing here is, they operate in the Florida, Alabama panhandle primarily. The Florida, Alabama panhandle includes the 30A market of Florida. It includes the Forgotten Coast, includes the Miramar Beach, for example, Panama City Beach. But they operate within the 30A market. Within the 30A market, there's submarkets. And in the submarkets, there's submarkets of the submarkets of the submarkets of the submarkets. The point is that we can draw out any specific area for our partners. And we can say, hey, this area from 1st Street to 10th Street and A Street to F Street is called this. And we map it out. And then you'll have that in your hierarchy. So you can look at the data for that specific area. We are happy to map that out for anybody. It's no additional charge for that. It actually helps out everybody because it means that we can get more granular on our reporting and uncover more insights. So for the purposes of this, though, I'm going to stick to Rosemary Beach because that's where I have a bunch of properties with this property manager. So then we can drill down even further and we can say, hey, I just want to see a specific type of home. So that's where I can say, hey, I just want to see my 6-bedroom houses with pools that are that have a hot tub or that are pet friendly, so on and so forth. You can choose from all those different amenities. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because if you dive into some of those different metrics or filters, you can really start to paint a different story. So are my pool homes booking, but my regular homes not booking? Am I getting better performance out of hot tub homes versus not? These are some of the things that a lot of people really want to be able to assess at the end of the year, and Key Data makes that really easy to do from this dashboard. So I'm just going to hit apply, and I'm going to see all my data for just my 6-bedroom houses in Rosemary Beach is what I'm doing at this point. Now, what I'm then going to see here is the ability to see average daily rate, occupancy, and RevPAR all on one screen. Now, if any of you are not familiar with RevPAR, and you're probably not, because it's a hotel term and it came from the hotel industry. But one of the key things that is very unique about Key Data is that because we're getting the data directly from your property management system, we can see things like owner stays, maintenance holds, and kick those out of the equation. So let's look at these metrics and understand what they actually mean. There are over 45 different key performance indicators in Key Data Dashboard. If you want to know it about a property, it's probably in here. Each one of these sections can be customized, and you can put whatever KPI you want on each graph. That's what really opens up a lot of the use of Key Data. You can do things like run reports on cancellations. You can run reports on owner stays. You can run reports on anything for any type of revenue or different things that you add on to reservations. Being able to assess many different metrics is where you can really make this thing work for you. And I'll show you a little bit more of that as we go on. For the purposes of this part of the demonstration, though, I'm going to stick with the 4 big key performance indicators that are here. This is what most people look at. And when they think of Key Data, especially the company snapshot, these are the 4 metrics that they think about. So we start with average daily rate, which is a pretty simple equation. It's the it's the amount of revenue that's booked each night of a stay. So let's say that you have a property that's available for 10 nights. You book it for one night at $1,000. You've got an average daily rate of $1,000. Pretty simple. Now, when we go to adjusted paid occupancy, anytime you see the word adjusted in Key Data, that's our secret sauce. That's us kicking out the owner stays and maintenance holds and giving you a grade just on the days that are available to rent in the first place. So that anytime you see the word adjusted, that's what that means. So adjusted paid occupancy is, let's say that we have a property, it's available for 10 days. We book it for 1 day. That's a 10% occupancy rate. Now, let's say that you had a property that was there for 12 days, but 2 of the days were owner occupied. That leaves you with 10 days. And so you take that 1 day that you booked at a rate, and that's your 10% occupancy. Does that make sense with everybody? Awesome. Now we're going to go to adjusted RevPAR. Adjusted RevPAR is the thing that sets us apart in the market from everybody else because it takes into account those owner stays and maintenance holds, combines ADR and adjusted paid occupancy into one metric that tells you if you're actually making more money this year than last year. So let's go back to our example where we book one night at $1,000. We've got $1,000 average daily rate and a 10% occupancy. Let's take that same unit. Let's book it for 4 nights at $500. Your average daily rate is now $500, but your occupancy is 40%. So how do you know if you're winning or losing? Which scenario is actually making you more money? Well, you take the total amount of revenue divided by 10 days, and that's how you can figure out where you're making more money. So in the first scenario, $1,000 divided by 10, $100 a night. Second scenario, you made $2,000 on those 4 nights, divided by 10, you made $200 per night. Your RevPAR, your adjusted RevPAR would be $200 instead of $100. You're going to take the second scenario almost every time. That's where Key Data starts to move in and help you figure out if your revenue strategy is actually working, because we're looking forward into the future. We're sitting here in September and we're looking forward, and we can see how we're actually stacking up year over year, month over month, season over season in a pacing environment. We can see that we're ahead or behind of where we were last year. So if that hasn't clicked, I'm sure this is being recorded. Come back and rewatch it. That's revenue management kind of 101, if you will. But now we can start, now that you understand how those different metrics work and the timing of it works, now you can understand what you're actually looking at on the screen. So you can see that my rate is down this year versus last year from an average daily rate perspective. And let me come back to some of these questions. Give me just 1 second. So let's look at average daily rate first. We can see our rates are down this year versus last year. So we should fire a revenue manager, right? Well, not exactly, because our occupancy during that same time period is way up. So again, how do I know if I'm winning or losing? We have to put those two metrics together and provide average daily rate. And we can see that we actually made more money this year than last year overall with our RevPAR. So for every night that unit was available, it made an extra $20. $20 doesn't sound like much, but you multiply that by the number of the nights that were available times the number of units in your inventory, and now you have a much bigger number, and you can see that you make more money this year versus last year.
Hey, Dan, have some questions.
Yes.
That I think are good. I have Joe here asking, how does Key Data know if it was owner occupied regarding the dashboard? And the second one that I got is, if you know how far back does the data go?
Yes, absolutely. Great question. So we'll pull your data as far back as you have in your property management system. Or 3 years, whatever's less, I guess I would say, or whatever's more. We usually bring in 3 years of historical data if you have it. If you don't, we'll just bring in as far back as you have. And then how do we know if it was owner occupied? Well, because Hostfully tells us, because Hostfully has some type of a indicator. Please forgive me. We work with 85 different property management systems and everybody's a little bit different, but I believe Hostfully just has an owner block reservation type.
Yep, that's correct.
Yep.
All owners scheduling their bookings they show up as a block rather than a booking with a connected channel, whether that channel is your direct booking site or any other channel we list on. So shows up just a little bit differently.
Absolutely. And then we also have things called just maintenance blocks, right? And then we have things like cancellations, and all of that comes from Hostfully. It's just that we've refined the reporting aspect and the visualization aspect. That's where the specialness of key data comes in. Now, in this scenario, where we can filter down to specific metrics, specific filters, I want to point out that you have the ability to change these metrics as much as you want. So one of the things that people might want to know is they want to see a cancellation report. How many cancellations have I had on my 6-bedroom houses with pools that are oceanfront compared to all my other stuff? And so you might go in and you build out your cancellation report, which is what I'm doing here. And let's do average cancellation window. And I'm just throwing metrics in here willy-nilly. You can do whatever you want. A lot of people did this during the pandemic. They were able to do a cancellation report to see when the bleeding has stopped, right? When the cancellation stopped. Obviously, New Orleans is getting hit right now. This is something that would be helpful in that market to understand when the bleeding stopped as well. So let's look at these cancellations. Like here, I can see all my cancellations this year versus last year. Not getting a lot of cancellations this time of year really at all with these 6-bedroom houses in this particular market. I wouldn't know that if I didn't run the report, right? So to be able to get into where are my do I have a lot of cancellations? If I have cancellations, where are they coming from? Just apply those different filters. But you have that ability to build that all out. Now, which makes this, here's what makes this report start to exponentially add more value, is that it's really a whole bunch of different reports built into one. So when you get in here for the first time, you don't have any reports built out, but what you can do is you could save this view, name it as the cancellation report, and then it'll go up into your saved reports. So you can see you could see cancellations on one report. You could do a house report. You could do a condo report. You could do a Texas report versus a North Carolina report if you operate in multiple markets. the possibilities are endless. You can save all of those different reports and have those automatically available to you. This is only for your internal data. If you want to see how you're performing against the market, we'd love to help you do that, but that's a key data only. You have to go through key data and do an actual contract with us, and we can help you see how you're performing against the market. But the functionality is all still the same. You still have all the same filters. You can drill down to the same types of properties, and you can see those specific metrics. Now, taking this just one step further, you'll notice a couple of things that I maybe didn't mention along the way. Those include things like being able to see the data by day, by week, or by month. You can see the data however frequently you want. If you run a report for 30 days, that's where you start to get into a huge opportunity from a revenue management standpoint, because you can see what's going on over the next 30 days. Where are there holes in your reservations? Obviously, because I'm looking at cancellations instead of things like occupancy. Just paid occupancy. Let's go average daily rate. Let's go RevPAR. And you can see how you're doing for that specific property over the next 30 days, for example. Like I see these holes in the reservations. I can see there's maybe an opportunity for me to go get a reservation if I lower the rate or if I run some type of special. I can just understand where those holes are. The other thing that you have the ability to do is run any of these reports for a specific home. This is where you can start to do owner relations with this report. So let's go to one that I know is on their program. Let's go to Dajio Beach, apply. Okay, this one isn't on their program anymore. Oh, no, it is, because I am looking at everything. There we go. So this is just that property and how it's performing over the next 30 days. Obviously, the way that I have that filtered right now, not going to be what you want to show an owner necessarily. Let's do current year. So this is pacing this year versus last year for this one report. And you can download any of these reports as a PDF. It'll come all logoed up with your information so that you can show that to an owner. If you are looking to expand your inventory, you could also use this as an owner acquisition tool, because you can say, hey, I already have a 4-bedroom house with a pool, it's oceanfront, and here's how it performs. This is the no BS approach to being able to show them exactly what you can get for them, because you're already getting it.
Say, Dan, quick question on the, when you talk, you said you had a 4-bedroom house, actually the unit. I'm curious on the platform itself, there's a couple compare data, and I've been messing around with it. I have a couple properties myself, so super cool tool to compare. I'm curious what factors get taken into for like that compare with the market kind of at the top, those numbers, I think that are in red, 63%. Is that the market data, some like surrounding stuff, or what is that?
None of the stuff in Snap is from the market. This compare rate last year.
That's from last year.
Yeah, that's the pacing data from last year.
Gotcha.
Blue line is this year. Orange line is last year. I apologize for not hitting that right at the beginning.
Oh no.
Yeah, so you're not
glad we did touch that, because
you're not comparing to the market in the Snap dashboard. That does take extended agreement. That's not part of the Snap dashboard. Gotcha.
And Crystal actually brought up a question in the chat here, because she was curious about the market data and what other tools you could use for the market itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me show you that in just a minute. I love selling key data, but I want to show you guys what you get for free and kind of expand what you might not know, especially as you start using the Snap dashboard within your projects. So you'll see this little gear icon in the upper right-hand corner. If you hit that little button, you'll see different preferences. This is where you start to get in some really cool opportunities here, including different revenue attribution. So you'll notice within the different metrics that we offer at Key Data, you'll see unit revenue, other revenue, and total revenue. Unit revenue is the price of the unit alone. Other revenue is everything you add on top of a reservation, things like trip insurance, concierge services, etc. And then total revenue is the combination of both. What's neat about Key Data is we also give you the ability to break down the data nightly or by your attribution rules. So let's say you attribute revenue upon arrival, which is what this company does. What that means is that, let's say that a stay starts in June and ends in July, you want to put all that revenue into June's numbers. With recognized revenue, that's what we do. But you have the ability to manipulate where that money should go, whether you want it broken out but nightly, or if you want it broken out by arrival date or departure date. So you can do that right here. You can also go through and choose what day of the week you want your week to start on. You can also choose your default markets. So let's say that, most of your inventory is in Sevierville, but you also have one property up in Myrtle Beach, but you want to report on them separately. You could choose your default market to be Sevierville because that's the one that you're really focused on. The other cool thing that you can do from within the settings over here is create custom unit groups. Custom unit groups give you the ability to segment your inventory. So let's say that you have, we've had people do this for like cabins. They have cabins and then they have houses, or they have condos and then they have houses. They have condos with pools, houses with pools or condos with views, right? They want to create a custom unit group for those properties. You just hit add new, add whatever properties you want to be in that unit group, and then you can run your reports by the unit group using the filter on the right-hand side of the screen. So that's a cool feature that's also available to you in the Snap dashboard. No charge for this part, right? The other piece to this is that you can set up custom seasons. Custom seasons give you the ability to, rather than manually select all the date ranges on the calendar, you can go in and set up custom seasons or custom events. And you can name that season whatever you want. So Spring Break 2025 might be something that a lot of people on the call are looking at. And you can see you can set a from date to date, make it active, and you can make it always show on the graph so you don't have to manually add that each time. I love the positive feedback. Keep it coming, guys. That's awesome. You can keep on adding any of those seasons that you want, and then those seasons are available for you to choose from when you go to the company snapshot. So you can just choose, for example, I have custom seasons up here. Go all the way down to the bottom, you can see that we've got a whole bunch. We got Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, Thanksgiving, fall break, summer. They've been busy in here. The other cool thing that you can, and then you can also choose any as of date that you want. Just keep that in mind as you're looking at this data, especially when we get into custom seasons. When you start looking at ski season, for example, a big one coming up, you're going to want to see where you were as of a certain date last year as it coincides like Thanksgiving or Christmas, because that's when a lot of the bookings happen. That's a huge asset to be able to change that as of date, but more so to change which date ranges you look at. So that's a pretty good deep dive into what you get for free with the Snap dashboard. We tried to make it so that there's literally no reason not to use that. You still get a ton of value, even though it's not showing you versus the market. This is how you can use key data very effectively to communicate with owners, to communicate internally, and to understand what's happening within your own data. Before I move on, I want to point out, I've said this from the beginning, we've talked about this ad nauseum. You have the best comp set for your properties. It's your property's previous year performance. As you continue to add owners onto your platform, you'll start to find that the owners are really just trying to beat last year. If they were happy, right? If they were mad last year, that's not enough. But if they're happy, as long as you continue to provide them good value this year versus last year, they're probably not going to leave you. So to be able to communicate this to them and show them what's happening, really effective. Now, if you want to start getting into man, the market's all down. This is where the paid services can really work. Before I leave, because Joe just asked, or before I leave this screen and show you the paid stuff that you can get, I see that Joe asked about forward-looking data. Everything on here is forward-looking. So we're here in September. This is as of today. This is what's on the books for the rest of the year. This is a Florida panhandle market. They don't get a lot in the fall. So that's why you're seeing their occupancy pretty low. But yeah, this is all actuals, what's on the books for now. Looking forward, if I want to start looking into 2025, I certainly have the ability to do that. So we're going to go next calendar year here, and we can start to assess how we're looking for next year. Not good in their case. But this is this year as of today versus last year as of the same day. So yes, it's all forward looking as far out into the future as you have on the books. Did I miss any questions, guys, before I show the paid version?
Joe did have another one asking about, can you attribute the revenue to the month where the nights occurred? And his example was someone checking in on June 28th and checking out on July 4th.
Yes. So there are lots of different ways that you can show that data. So you can use recognized revenue if you want to put it all in one bucket, whether it's arrival or departure. But if you want to do the 3 nights that are in June and the 4 nights that are in July, you would just choose nightly revenue instead of recognized revenue. It's also simple. One of the options in the settings. You can make it so that you bucket it by night instead of by arrival or departure.
Very nice.
So all of those settings are available to you. Use them. And that's one of those things that you wouldn't know it was there unless you sat through this demo with me. So I'm glad that you saw that. Now, if you want to compare yourself to the market, I'm going to go ahead and actually, Mitch, we played with this earlier. Can you stop sharing my screen?
Yep, for sure.
For 1 second. Just because.
You guys have to look at our faces for a little bit. Sorry.
Just for a second. Don't break your computers. All right. It's going to be fine. Let's go back over to here. I have to log into the paid version. It's a little different for me. So what we've rolled out now is what we call the all new key data dashboard. Everything that you saw with the snapshot is still there. It just looks a little different now and gives you some more capabilities. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. And here we are. So what we've done with the all new key data is we've made it more customizable. So you saw that you could change the metrics and you could see those 4 different reports on one screen. You also saw that we could filter down to any specific type of property with all the different attributes to each property. What the all new key data gives you the ability to do is build your own custom dashboard. And that's what I'm going to show you next. It also gives you the ability to compare yourself versus the rest of the market. So you'll see the company snapshot has kind of updated a little bit because you can build out different sections to the dashboard. So I built my own company snapshot here. These are the metrics that I would think would be valuable if I was a property manager myself. So I've got these 6 metrics, very similar to the 4 that I showed you on the previous screen, except I added in owner nights and I also added in total revenue, which is, again, is that combination of both. From a revenue management side of things, you're going to be more focused on the unit revenue than the total revenue. But you can put whatever you want in here. Among those 45 different metrics, you can put any of those different metrics in here. You can also see how you're performing in each market that you operate within, which is what this table is over here on the right. Just helps you kind of have a quick leaderboard of where you're winning, where you're losing, and what the difference is. If I scroll down, this is where we get into just me this year versus me last year as of the same day. This is that same pacing value that I showed you on the Snap dashboard. So again, that Snap dashboard can do 90% of this. It's just that when we start getting into the market level data, that's where things start to change. The last piece of this that I'll point out that's part of the paid version is that you can filter down to specific types of properties. Then you can see the leaderboard of each property this year versus last year, percent difference. call that the leaderboard because we just want to see what properties are winning or losing at any given time. So now let's look at what you can get when you start to look at the market level dashboard. You'll see that there's now 4 lines on the dashboard. Doesn't look revolutionary, but this is again fed by the direct source data of other property managers that are feeding into key data here directly from their property management system. This is not scraped data. We're not getting this from Airbnb and VRBO by simply looking at their property calendar. This is the actual booking data coming from the actual property managers that we have that could be using any one of the 85 other property management systems that we're connected with. So that way we can show you the real-time booking and stay data, both forward-looking and historically. So in this chart, we can see this year me versus this year for the market, where the rest of the market is for occupancy. Again, that same ability to filter down to specific types of properties in specific markets with specific attributes, including how many the property sleeps, which ones have an air conditioner or have a pool or an air conditioner or hot tub or whatever it is. You can even filter down to the specific markets that you operate within. So again, still having that ability to filter down to the unique areas that you operate within. That's what the market goes to. You can filter down to the specific metrics that you want. So any one of those 45 different key performance indicators, so you can see how you're stacking up against the rest of the market for booking window or cancellation window. Is the rest of the market getting the cancellations that we are? Is the rest of the market getting shorter stays than we are? Gives you that ability to find that out pretty quickly. The last piece of this part of the dashboard that I'm going to show you is the ability to look at it from a marketing perspective as well. One of the reports that we offer is a feeder market report. This tells me every single market that has stayed with me. And if you expand this little table, it'll actually show you every market that has stayed with you broken down by postal code, but it'll tell you how many bookings you got from that market, how much revenue you got from that market. And what that allows you to do, because we break it down by zip code, is export this directly to a CSV file or a PDF, upload it directly into Google AdWords or Facebook ads, and target the heck out of your past guests. This is, in my opinion, one of the most valuable tools in the paid version of Key Data Dashboard. I spent 8 years working for an online marketing agency before coming to Key Data. If I would have had this when I was running people's paid ad campaigns, I could have made them a lot more money. You can have as many logins to Key Data Dashboard as you want. There's no limit to that. So if you want to give your marketing agency access to the feeder market report, certainly can do that. You can have as many saved reports as you want as well, and those are unique to each user on the dashboard. So a lot of functionality capabilities there. This is from the marketing side of things. You might want to understand where your bookings are coming from and when, at what rates. The paid version does a little bit better job of that than the Snap dashboard will, just because there's a lot of different axes that need to be applied on each of those. But you can say for people who are booking during a certain time period, when will they stay? For people who are staying during a certain time period, when did they book and at what rates? There's about 5 or 6 different reports that really dive into the booking behavior that's leading up to a stay for any given time period. And then the last kind of portion of that guest map or of the feeder market report is telling you where your guests are coming from around the country. We really dive into everything you want to know about a property is probably in the paid version of Key Data. We work with over 5,000 different property managers, which has allowed us to hear, hey, you know what I want to see a few thousand times. And that's how we've built out all the different functionality in Key Data Dashboard. Just to talk really briefly about a couple of the other additional features that we have in Key Data. We have the ability to provide a rental projection for properties using an address. And that would be fed from direct source data. So we're not guessing on whether or not those properties were booked at that much. We actually can see there's actually a property that's made $300,000. And you can go into each one of these different reports here at the top. We have a comp set tool that allows you to identify specific properties and then see the average daily rate, as well as whether or not it's available for any specific property listed on Airbnb and VRBO. That is using scraped data. So a little bit of a word of caution on that. Anybody who's providing scraped data, which is any other data source in the industry, is going to be a issue with how accurate it can be because it's coming from scraped data. Then there's Demand IQ, which tracks every search that's done on your website. And helps you understand the unconstrained demand. So are we getting a lot of searches for 6-bedroom houses, for example, and we don't have any? Or what are the dates that people are searching for most? What is the minimum night stay that they're searching for most? It's important for you to understand that, because if you know that you're getting 1,000 searches a day for 2-night stays and you only allow 3-night stays, it might be time to update your strategy there. And then the last one here that's unique and an additional feature that you have to pay for is budgeting. Budgeting allows you to set a goal for every single one of your properties and then track your progress through signposts throughout the year. So you can see, I want to make $100,000 on this property, or let's keep the math simple, $120,000 on this property. You would want to make maybe $40,000 in January, $30,000 in February, $20,000 in March, and then finish out the rest of the year from a booking standpoint with what's left. That budgeting tool is also available as an add-on feature. So there's a few add-on features to Key Data, but the basis is the Snap product that you all have access to for free through Hostfully. And I hope you guys take advantage of it, because it's a pretty powerful tool at no additional charge.
Very powerful tool indeed. This is a great run through. There's almost like I'm gonna have to watch this back myself just to take it all in. But man, this is good stuff. I see we did have a couple questions on the chat here. David asked, can we compare with all competitors in the area or just the ones also using Key Data? And I think you've answered this, but
yeah. So you'd be able to see where, depending on where David is, but let's say that you're in Myrtle Beach, right? You'd have access to, oh man, I picked Myrtle Beach because I was like, I remember the name of that county, but now I'm blanking on it. But let's say Sevierville, Tennessee. It's Sevier County, so that's easy to remember. You have Sevierville, Gatlinburg, and Pigeon Forge. So you'd be able to see Sevier County. You'd be able to see Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, and Sevierville if you're operating in each of those. And then you'd be able to even go down to, like if you're in Sevierville, there's inside Sevierville and there's outside city limits of Sevierville. So you'd have the ability to go down to all those different levels and see what's going on. I think that there's also another larger region of Tennessee that's built out. You'd also have access to that. So it's any market that you operate within is what you'll be able to see from a market level data when you get into the market level data with our paid version of Key Data. With the Snap version, though, it works the same way. The hierarchy structure is still the same. So if you operate in all of the different areas of Sevier County, you'd be able to drill down to each specific area.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
One thing, if anybody signed up, went through all the processes and is ready to get into their dashboard, reach out to me, because like I said, if you didn't sign the partner share, the data sharing agreement, we can't actually give you access to the data. So we need to get that crossed off the list first. It's easy. Again, it's a $0 fee. So like, there's no reason not to do it. It's just that we have to protect everybody who's involved on the data sharing side. So. That
makes sense. I'm guessing that's what Dan's question was, Dan Hart's.
So,
yeah, we'll send your contact out after the webinar here. By the way, everyone will get a recording. We'll send a copy of well, there's really not much slides, so we'll send a copy of the recording, but just want to let you guys know that.
And if anybody has any questions, just reach out to me at daniel@keydatadashboard.com. And I'll be happy to answer any of your questions. super excited.
Love that. If you guys haven't connected with Key Data, I saw there was some in the poll that haven't yet. Just put a link down there. You'll see a little description of the promotion we're doing, what's included, and some instructions on how to get started.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Thank you all for your time. I really appreciate it, and excited to welcome you into the Key Data team. Use the dashboard. It's worth it. If you take the time, you're going to make money using it. And I can't wait to hear all the feedback, especially things like, OMG, what? That's my favorite comment. If you can beat that one, let's do it.
That is a great one. Thank you, Dan, for coming on here, man. This has been, like I said, excellent insight into these tools, even the paid version. I'm going to be watching this one back. But again, thanks for joining us. Everyone else on the call, thank you so much for tuning in. Like we said, we'll have a recording available if you need to watch it back too. Other than that, I'll let you guys all go and have a great rest of your Thursday.